Wonder Woman, directed by Patty Jenkins, starring the incomparably gorgeous Gal Gadot. Move over, Kate Moss. Gal now has my heart. It's true. Also starring Chris Pine and a bunch of other people. Connie Nielsen in a role that proves that woman simply does not age. And Robin Wright in a role that proves she does age, but very, very gracefully. Seriously, there's almost nothing I can say bad about this movie. There are small things, but they really are truly small. This is the DC Extended Universe movie we wanted. And it's the Wonder Woman movie we wanted. It's outstanding. The reviews are not bullshitting you. This movie is fantastic. It's everything I wanted in this movie and then so much more. Gal Gadot is having the time of her life. You can tell repeatedly when she just starts smiling at her own character's naivete, and just there's a luminescence to her performance, how much she's enjoying this character. And it wasn't present in Batman v Superman by any stretch of the imagination. And her chemistry with Chris Pine is immediate. And once they get off the island at the beginning, and the island is a problem, I'll explain that in a minute. Once they get off the island, Chris Pine and Gal Gadot, I could have taken an hour and a half more of just them talking. I loved it. That boat scene is one of the absolute highlights. There was such chemistry, such a natural chemistry between the two characters and between the two actors. And I really believed their relationship, which you generally don't in these comic book movies. One thing that I do have a problem with is the movie is exposition heavy. And by that, I mean the entire first act feels like nothing but the characters saying, yes, and then this happened, and then this happened. Oh, and remember, you are this person, okay? It's very important. Don't tell her who she really is, because we can't have that. Let me tell you about my father. Some of it's played for yucks, and it's kind of funny, but overall, it's just not... it's not good storytelling. I think they could have done the birth and the childhood of Diana much more organically. I'm not even sure it really was necessary, but I think it could have been handled much better than it was. The first act is, and I know this movie underwent a lot of rewrites. These DC movies always do. But the first act feels like it was written by an entirely different writer or set of writers from acts 2 and 3. When they're on the island, there's very, very little that's funny. And what is funny is just kind of, okay, whatever, I'm done. And the humor was so much more organically integrated into the film and the narrative and the dialogue after that point, once they left the island. It was, and there were parts that were just hysterical. There really were some belly laughs, which have been sorely lacking in the DC movies, especially Batman versus Superman. Yeesh. What else? The villains. It did not fix the villain problem. The villain problem is alive and well, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. We have technically 2 villains throughout this movie. They don't exist. By that I mean there is nothing to them. I mean literally nothing of substance to them as characters. They are simply characters that go on and say, "It will be terrible." And then there's the third act, which is the most problematic issue. Really, you can excuse the villains at this point because, let's face it, it's just part and parcel with these comic book movies. The villains are not going to be very good. They're going to be fairly trite and forgettable. You're not going to have another Loki, I don't think. I think it was just a damn fluke. Third act, there's too much CG. animation for my taste. And I didn't like one of the twists they pulled. It's a twist that you kind of can see coming, and it doesn't work. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't work. You get more exposition to try and make it work. It still doesn't work. And quite honestly, I'm tired of this particular trick. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's lazy. Again, lazy narrative, lazy screenwriting, but it is what it is. But the reality is, those nitpicks and quiggles aside, I had a hell of a lot of fun with this movie. I'm going to go see it again. That's how much I enjoyed it. It's over 2 hours long, and it felt like a lengthy movie that didn't feel like a long movie. It felt like, with the exception maybe of that first part on the island, I wouldn't cut anything out of it. There really was very little that I would cut out of this movie. In fact, it's one of the few times where I'd say, add more Chris Pine and Gal Gadot. They have such chemistry together, you know? I will also talk about, and I know I'm not going to be the only one talking about this, but I want to make sure I mention it. This is a feminist movie for feminists that don't need to say they're feminists. This is the movie Ghostbusters wanted to be, and maybe could have been under the direction of somebody slightly less afraid of his own penis. Much like Star Wars The Force Awakens with Rey, Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, is a character in this film that is just a good person. And she's a take charge, no bullshit woman who doesn't need to tell you she's a take charge, no bullshit woman. There aren't moments where she's saying, you know, I'm a woman, you don't treat me like I'm less than you. It's more like it just doesn't occur to her that anybody would think otherwise, that anybody would think that a woman is less than a man. It never enters her head because she knows better than that. And it was so cool to see that done well in one of these movies. Black Widow in the Marvel movies is horribly mistreated because they don't know how to treat her as a female character, as arguably the major female character in that franchise at the moment. DC gets it right. DC got it right. Marvel still hasn't figured out how to do it. DC got it right. There's a lot I want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil the movie. One thing I will sort of spoil, it's not really a spoiler because you see it in the trailer, but there is a moment in the second act where Diana says, we have to help these people. And Steve, played by Chris Pine, says, we can't. We have to stay on mission. You can't do this. We cannot do this. It's not part of the mission. And Diana says, no, but it's what I'm going to do. And she takes off her robe and she's got her Wonder Woman garb under. And it's the first time you see her in full tiara, garb, gorgeous, gorgeous thighs, full Wonder Woman glory. She crawls up over the top of the trench and proceeds to walk towards and then run towards the German army. And it's an incredible, holy shit moment. It's a fantastic, truly heroic moment in a movie chock full of heroism where you really feel like, for all these movies about superheroes, this is one of the first that feels like there really are heroes in the world. And that's what Wonder Woman is. And I think that's so cool. And take your daughters to go see this movie. Really, as much as, I may say, yeah, her thighs are fantastic. Even the sexuality, the sexual nature of the character is really kind of downplayed. The camera doesn't linger on her body the way you would kind of expect it to. The gown, the outfit, yeah, it's kind of short, but you don't get as much of that as you'd really expect. You know, yeah, admittedly, that first act on the island, yeah, you do get more of it probably than you need to. But seriously, take your daughters to go see this. Give them a true female role model of superheroes to root for, because Wonder Woman is fantastic. Gal Gadot is fantastic. Chris Pine is fantastic. This is the best and most fun I've had with Chris Pine since the first Star Trek reboot. The supporting cast, they don't have a lot to do, but they make the best of what they do. They do have, and they're really good. They're really enjoyable. The music, for the most part, is kind of crappy. Yeah. Except for that theme, because let's face it, that theme, those drums come in, and then that guitar comes in, and you just want to stand up and start pumping your fists in the air and start screaming, "Go Wonder Woman." You just do. Yeah. Go see Wonder Woman. Go see it. It's wonderful. Just go see it. This is the movie, and it's so much better than Guardians 2. It is so much better than Guardians 2. This is the film of the summer. This is the film of the summer. Go see Wonder Woman. It's fantastic. This is Jonathan for Pomegranate Radio saying thanks for watching. Catch you next time.
Pomegranate.